Hello, my name is Ashton Beggs, and I'm going to give you a history lesson today about the assassination attempt of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. I say attempt, but the attempt succeeded. Ferdinand was one of the great military leaders of Austria-Hungary, and because of his death, it led to a huge domino effect that inevitably caused the First Great World War across Europe. And today I'm going to tell you about the context clues behind it, what happened before the assassination, during, and then the great domino effect of what happened after. So, the assassination happened on June 28th of 1914, and this is the most accurate map of Europe I could find. It says 1912, but this is about what Europe looked like during this time. Austria-Hungary is here, and during this time he is visiting Bosnia. He is actually visiting their capital, and he is there to check up on the military presence there and to establish also good tidings. He's not here to gloat, he's here to make relations to the local people, even though they just annexed Bosnia recently. Now, Bosnia happens to border Serbia, and there's a lot of mixed Serbians within Bosnia, and it just so happens on this day, on June 28th, that it is actually a great travesty for the Serbian people. You see, Austria was at war with Serbia, and the Serbians lost a great battle that they had fought in the capital of Bosnia, and they lost terribly. A lot of men died, and so they felt it as an insult that the Archduke would visit the capital on this historic day of June 28th, because it's the anniversary of Serbia's great tragedy. And so there's a lot of tensions going on. There's a lot of nationalist pride for the Serbian people, and there's one man in particular that wants to cause great harm to the Archduke and inevitably the Austrian-Hungarian people. So this man, Gavrilo Princip, is part of what's called the Black Hand movement. This is a movement of Serbian people within Bosnia and the country itself that seeks the end of the Austrian Empire, or at the very least, they want their independence from them. Now, Serbia, while it wasn't annexed by the Hungarian Empire, it was militarily occupied since they had lost the previous war. And so their people was seen as oppressed, and so they wanted their people to cause a great uprising, a great rebellion, so they could finally be free from the control of the Austrian Empire. And so this man, his job, his mission is to kill Ferdinand, which would hopefully inspire his people in order to rise up and rebel against the empire. And this is the Archduke and his wife. You can't see the carriage driver, but this is what they're in when they're making their travels through the Bosnian capital. And it's through the streets of crowds that the assassinator tried to kill them with a grenade. And this is what a Serbian grenade looks like back then. Many people are used to the baseball-like grenades of today. This is what grenades typically look like back then. In fact, there's many different designs. There are some designs that look like you were throwing a stick at somebody. But this is what the grenade looked like that was being thrown at Archduke on June 28th that day. Now, fortunately for him and his wife, instead of detonating on impact or landing in the carriage and exploding, it bounced off the back and exploded behind them. So they narrowly missed dying from the grenade, and in fact the driver was able to safely get them away from the area into some place safe. And so the assassinator, having been failed and having nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, decided this would be a good time, after having the worst failure of his career at this point, to have lunch at a cafe called Cafe Gavrilo. And here he had his drink and his sandwich, and after about 20 minutes he started feeling a little better about himself. And he thought maybe there's going to be another chance for him and his people in order to, make the strike that they needed. Well, it just so happened that the Archduke's driver got lost and made a wrong turn and ended up at the hotel just across the street from the cafe. And while the driver was asking for directions and trying to figure out how to get back to the embassy and to get to a safe place because the Archduke was technically still in danger. The assassinators saw the Archduke, walked up from a seat from the cafe, walked across the street, and shot him in the head. And that was the end of Ferdinand, and that was the first huge domino effect that we're going to see plays out here in the next minute across all of Europe. So, because of this conflict, Austria, of course, blamed Serbia because this was a man from the movement that was pro-Serbian and very nationalistic. The Serbians denied any direct involvement and even made fun of the Austrian people and their ludicrous claims that they had anything to do with the Archduke's death. And so, in response, Austria declares war on Serbia. Now, this would have been a small conflict if it wasn't for the fact that Russia happened to be a direct ally of Serbia. And so once Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, it was Russia's turn to declare war on them as Serbia's ally. Now once this happened, this is when Germany gets involved. Germany is the ally of Austria. So what happens when Russia joins the war? Germany joins the war. And not only do they declare war on Russia back, they declare war on France because they're preemptively going to make strikes against France and Russia because they know that France is also a part of this allied coalition. And they didn't want to be surprise attacked by France. So instead, they decided to do the attack first. Now, during this time, everybody knows the UK was a part of this Great War. The only reason they got involved, however, was because Germany attacked Belgium. And Belgium was an even stronger ally to the United Kingdom. And so in response, the United Kingdom declared war on Germany. And now you have a huge multi-faction war across all of Europe. Right after the UK declared war on Germany, Italy joins in the conflict too, because they feel obligated to join in after it became such a huge scale conflict. And so, because of this, we had a war that killed over 20 million people. You had people from France, United Kingdom, later the United States, Germany, Austria, Italy, Russians. Many people died in this conflict. And this is what this image represents. It represents the men that fruitlessly died during this conflict. Just lines and rows of men marching to their deaths. And so, back in this day, this war was known as the Great War, and then later called World War I. I like to call it the Great Consequence, because the consequence of one man's death caused a huge butterfly effect that ended up causing most of the known world to declare war on each other, which is absolutely tragic. These effects affected the world for the next 100 years. This was the direct cause of World War II. Because Germany lost World War I, their people was oppressed by the great burden of having to pay back the Allied nations for their involvement in the war, which caused Hitler to rise in power and in turn started World War II. This caused countries in Austria-Hungary that were split off into many different sections to declare many different wars later on in the world. And so, just one small domino effect of one man dying caused almost 100 years of new history in the world. And not good history either, very bad history. And so that's the history lesson I want to teach you today, is that it just takes one small act to create a huge tragedy in the world. And so that's something to learn from. And so I thank you all for listening to me and explaining what happened during this day. Thank you.